I'm the host of The Road to Success for Your Highly Sensitive Child. This podcast is about empowering parents of highly sensitive children to nurture their child's unique personality trait and create a path to success. Our podcast provides guidance, insights, and support to help you unlock your child's full potential, fostering resilience, confidence, and a bright future. If you're new to my podcast, please go back and listen to episodes 1 and 2 because they provide information on high sensitivity that all subsequent episodes will build upon. If you skip these episodes, you won't get as much out of this and all subsequent episodes. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com. Today's episode is about parenting highly sensitive children ages 3 to 10. Today's focus is on emotions and the importance of creating a safe space for your child to feel all their emotions. So before we get into the talking about emotions, let's talk about acceptance. Acceptance is key here because if your child accepts their personality trait and they see the benefit in their personality trait, so they see the amazing aspects of having this personality trait, not only is it easier for them to, first of all, accept the trait when they know there's so many amazing things about it, and also it helps them become more confident, which will lead to more resilience. So first, you got to start by making sure that your child accepts and celebrates this unique personality trait, and help them write down as many positive things about this personality trait and refer to this list and add to it as they progress in life. This will help them see the beauty in their personality trait, and it would help them gain a high confidence level. Highly sensitive people in general have a hard time seeing their positive traits, especially if they have a perfectionist tendency. If your child can't come up with positive traits on their own, then what you could do is tell them what positive traits you see in them. You can say you're smart, you're thoughtful, you're kind, you're helpful, you care about others, you're observant, you're creative, you are great at problem solving, you're a deep thinker. There's, this list goes on and on because I'm telling you, your child is so unique and they have so many amazing values and so many amazing traits. So you really need to help them come up with this list so that when they're not feeling at their best, they can take a look at this list and remind themselves all the great things about them, all the great characteristics about them. So now that we've talked about acceptance, let's get into emotions. So first, give your child permission to feel their emotion. Don't ever punish them for any emotion, no matter what. No emotion is bad. Also, don't make them feel guilty or ashamed for feeling a particular emotion. If you've listened to my previous episodes, you'll know that unfortunately, my parents did not allow me to feel any emotion besides happiness and joy. And so I grew up basically not being able to express my emotions and holding everything inside. And, I would have, even as an adult, I would have these, emotions when you push them down and you don't express yourself and you don't process them. They just get captured in your body, they just get stored in your body and they build up and then you erupt like a volcano. And I remember there were times, even as an adult, for example, at work, that because I didn't deal with my emotions, I would just start crying at work when somebody hurt my feelings or said something mean or disrespectful to me. And I would try so hard to hold my tears back, but at the end, I would always end up crying. And it was not that I did this too frequently, but there's definitely, you know, I can remember one or two episodes of me crying at Cisco, for example. I worked there for 6 years. Um, I had, I would say, at least, yeah, I would say up to, not at least, but up to two episodes of crying at Moby TV. And I worked there for, I think I worked there for 4 years. And anyway, these are just some examples, but these were as an adult. And I was so embarrassed by this. And then when I learned, after I started working at Dolby, I unfortunately got sick. And when I was on a medical leave of absence, I came across Brene Brown, who's one of my favorite authors, and I love her, and I love reading every single of her books. And I actually pre-ordered this one, and it's called um, Atlas of the Heart. And it came out on Valentine's Day, and I was so happy. So I read this book, and actually, I think it was before I went on a medical leave of absence. And it made me realize why I had all these eruptions in my emotions where I couldn't control my emotions. And it made me realize that I never learned to feel my emotions, not as a child, not as a young adult, and definitely not in my 40s. So it's just, in the past, I would say 2 years that I've learned, or maybe a year and a half that I've learned about the importance of feeling your emotions. And so I'll get into that a little bit. I'll discuss that in a little bit more detail. But so what you want to do is create a safe environment for your child so that they feel comfortable sharing their emotions with you. Hold space for them. Give them your undivided attention. If appropriate, share your own emotions with them. Please be careful with which emotion you share with them, because it should be age appropriate. And keep in mind that your child has a strong level of empathy, so choose wisely. Maybe start with a positive emotion, or maybe a negative emotion that's not too charged. And then teach your child to feel their emotions. Name their emotion. Where in their body are they feeling the emotion? What do they think is causing this emotion? Sit with the emotion and let it move through them. So the conversation can go something like this. What emotion are you feeling? And your child may say, I feel sad. I'm sorry that you're feeling sad. Can you tell me where in your body you can feel the sadness? Your child would say, I feel it in my chest. Good job. What do you think is causing your sadness? I don't have any friends at school. I see. That's a valid reason for feeling sad. I get it. I would be sad too. How can I help you feel better? I could use a long hug. Now your child has given you a valuable piece of information. Not during this conversation, but shortly thereafter, you can come up with ways to help your child find a friend. Maybe ask the teacher if there are other highly sensitive children in her class. If yes, wonderful. If not, enlist the help of her teacher to pair her up with a classmate that would be a good fit for her personality. So, this way, you have just demonstrated to your child that they are safe to feel their emotions And in fact, it is encouraged to feel emotions, and it is a big part of life. Many parents don't give their children permission to feel, and this is a huge source of anxiety for their child throughout their life. It doesn't stop as a child. It goes on, as you've seen with me. And I've seen it with many other people. It's not just only my example. I'm sharing my example because, it's easier for me to share my example than share with you example of other people, because I first need to get, permission from them to share. So just because I'm only giving you, or a lot of times I'm giving you my life experience, doesn't mean that that's the only source that I know of. I know many, many people who've gone through similar situations as I have and felt similar feelings that I have. So I just want you to know that it doesn't stop at their youth. It carries with them as an adult. So you can also what's important is having a list of emotions to help your child expand their vocabulary for emotions beyond happy, sad, mad, or hurt. Even I didn't have a very big vocabulary for emotions. And Brene Brown talks about this. Many, many people, highly sensitive or not, don't have a very broad vocabulary for emotions. So what you could do is just Google a list of emotions and have it handy, so that when your child and you are having this conversation and they don't have the words to describe their emotion, they can refer to something. And if not, they're not, in a position to read from that list, you can read it for them. Sometimes if the child is too emotional, they may not be able to read the list themselves. So you can help them with that. And then I want to talk about some specific emotions that many highly sensitive people feel. So, one is fear. Fear is an emotion that is very common for highly sensitive children. Some examples of fears are fear of failure, fear of being different, fear that there's something wrong with them. So, as a highly sensitive child, they know that they're different than most people around them. So, if they don't know about their personality trait and if they don't understand it, it's very easy for them to think that there's something wrong with them. Or it's very easy for them to feel, oh, why am I so different? And be fearful of that difference. So just pay attention as their parent to see if you detect any of these fears in your child. And when appropriate, you can bring it up and talk about them. So you can be proactive in helping your child express their emotions. You don't have to wait for them to come and talk to you about their emotions. And of course, you don't want to push them to talk about something that they're not ready to talk about, but you can let them know that you have made an observation, and if they're ready to talk about it, that you're there for them to, that you're there to listen to them and you're there to hold space for them. Belonging is another emotion that is very important to understand as a parent of highly sensitive children. Your child knows, as I just mentioned, your child knows that they're different from most other children. This is why it's important for you to accept your child exactly as they are. And you celebrate their high sensitivity. It's so critical that your child feels that they belong in your family, because to this day, unfortunately, I don't feel that I belong in my family. And I can tell you that it is one of the worst feelings to have. And this is one of the reasons that I love Brene Brown so much. And I love her book called The Atlas of the Heart. As I mentioned, actually, I'm a big fan of hers, and I love all her books. And probably I've read all of her books, if not most of her books. But this book has really helped me in my life because Brene Brown talks about the importance of belonging and what middle schoolers have said to her when she asked the question, what does belonging and fitting in mean to you? Here are some answers that I'm quoting from her book. Belonging is being somewhere where you want to be and they want you. Fitting in, on the other hand, is being somewhere where you want to be, but they really don't care one way or another. These are quotes that I'm giving you from her book um, from middle schoolers. So these are kids that are saying these quotes. Belonging is being accepted for you, and fitting in is being accepted for being like everyone else. If I get to be me, I belong. If I have to be like you, I fit in. Not belonging at school is really hard, but it's nothing compared to what it feels like when you don't belong at home. Not being as cool or as popular as your parents want you to be. Not being good at the same things that your parents were good at. Your parents being embarrassed because you don't have enough friends or you're not as athletic or a cheerleader. These are things that the children are saying that makes them feel that they don't belong. So what you want to do is teach your child not to want to fit in, because only through belonging can they be authentic and can they be themselves, their authentic self. And the sooner you teach them that, the better their life will be long term as an adult. And not just as a child, also as an adult. And then if you've taught them to accept themselves exactly as they are, then they already know that they belong to themselves first and foremost. That is so important, because if they don't feel like they belong anywhere, like I didn't feel like I belonged home. I didn't feel like I belonged in my school or at work when later on in life. Then if I had had this tool, I could have known that I belong to myself. And that's all that you need. That's all that any of us need. Of course, you want to create a sense of belonging with not just yourself, but with others as well, because that's a very crucial part of being a human being, because belonging creates a connection and allows you to be yourself and be authentic with other people. But it's enough to just feel that you belong to yourself. And it gives you the strength to get through times where you don't feel that you belong somewhere else. And one of the reasons, for example, that I didn't belong, that I didn't feel like I belonged to the schools that I was going to, is because I went to school and I skipped 4 grades. Therefore, I was much younger than other kids in my class. And so it was just a different experience being 4 years younger than everybody else. And it's hard. It's hard to make friends when you're so much younger than everyone else. Of course, I got lucky and I ended up making really amazing friends. But for the longest time, I didn't feel like I belonged. So belonging is very important. So I want to end the episode by talking about regulating the nervous system, which is very crucial and goes hand in hand with emotions. Because if you have the capacity and the tools to regulate your nervous system, then you can feel your emotions much easier, and you can deal with your emotions much easier, and you can process them much easier. So when you have a regulated nervous system, you're in the safe mode. You're not in the defensive mode of fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. And so there are simple ways, there are many ways to regulate your nervous system, but it's very crucial that you teach your child to regulate their nervous system on a daily basis. And you could do this in the morning when they wake up, you could do this in the car on the way to school, but you need to do it 5 minutes every day. It has to be consistent. So humming is an easy way to regulate your child's have your child regulate their nervous system. You can hum with your child. You can put their favorite music on and hum for 5 minutes. Maybe it takes two songs, depending on the length of the song, but you hum to those two songs or one song, whatever it may be. Or if they don't like to hum, they can sing along with their favorite song. And then the other thing that they could do is gargle, but you can't do that for 5 minutes, so it has to be combined with something else. Splashing their face with cold water is very helpful, especially if they're in school and they feel like they're getting to a point where they're not going to be regulated anymore. They can be excused, go to the bathroom, splash their face with water, drink some cold water. Make sure it's cold water. It has to be cold water for it to be effective. And then they can do humming or singing in the bathroom if they feel like they are comfortable to do that. But there are other things that they could do. There are many somatic exercises that you could teach your child to do where it's less obvious than singing or humming. So make sure that what I just mentioned is used when your child is actually regulated. If they are not regulated, then what you need to do is first make sure that their nervous system gets a little bit of a shock, a good shock in a way. It's nothing, it's not something bad. All it is holding a piece of ice in their hand and feeling that ice melt in their hand. And what that does to them is it brings them into the present moment. And once they're in the present moment, then you can teach them about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory exercise that I talked about in one of my podcasts, which is called orienting, which is basically having your child feel their 5 senses. So they're gonna name 5 things that they see in their surrounding, 4 things that they could touch, 3 things that they can smell, 2 things that they can hear, and 1 thing that they can taste. And then this will bring them into the present moment, which will then put them into the it would bring them out of the anxiety mode, and then they can do the other somatic exercises that I just talked about. And then what you could do for your child is you can gauge their stress level. And when you notice, sometimes they may not notice it themselves. So if you notice it sooner than they notice it, what you could do is hold space for them, help them process whatever it is that is bothering them and causing them anxiety or stress, and teach them about the importance of living in the present moment. Usually, anxiety is caused when either you think back at something that happened in the past or you think about something that might happen in the future. So, teaching your child to live in the present moment is very beneficial for them. And it's a great tool to have even in their adulthood. I use that exercise, the orientation exercise, all the time for myself. So, as we close this episode, I want to remind you that you have the power to create a bright and successful future for your highly sensitive child. Embrace their uniqueness, nurture their strengths, and provide them with the love and support they need. Together, we can pave a path to success that aligns with their sensitivity. Thank you for joining us today. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We'll be here with more insights and inspiration in our next episode. Until then, keep believing in your child's potential because they truly are extraordinary. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and stay committed to setting your child up for success in life. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com.